Some people claim they don't care for Dario Argento's phenomena, to which I say the film has a chimpanzee with a straight razor. What's not to love? Welcome to Sick Flicks, where I take a deep dive into the cinematic sewer to help you embrace your inner gore geek. Join me today as we take a look at one of director Dario Argento's most divisive films, Phenomena. Released in 1985, Phenomena is essentially the culmination of everything Argento had made prior. It takes the thriller mystery elements of gialli like Deep Red and Tenebre and merges them with the supernatural components of titles like Suspiria and Inferno. The resulting concoction doesn't always make sense, but it sure is entertaining. Featuring a killer cast with Jennifer Connelly, Pleasance, and Daria Nicolodi, along with murder, mutants, and psychic powers, this one has a little something for everyone. But just how sick is Phenomena? Let's get to the gore and find out. The film opens with this bus picking up some extras after a hard day's work filming Dario Argento's gory version of The Sound of Music. Kidding aside, this is one of my all-time favorite opening scenes. The fog-enshrouded mountains, the wind in the background, Bill Wyman's moody song Valley on the soundtrack. It really establishes a mood. This is just one of many reasons why I absolutely adore Phenomena. The bus takes off, but they left one extra behind. It's sort of like Open Water, only on land and in Switzerland and minus the sharks. But beyond that, totally the same. Fun fact, that's Dario Argento's oldest daughter Fiore who just missed her bus. Alright, we're just gonna crane shot right through the credits. Why? Because I'm Dario Argento, that's why. With no buses looming on the horizon, Fiore sets off to find help at this cute little cottage. While she's busy being Goldilocks outside, someone's chained to a wall inside. And they're not real happy about it. While she's practicing her B&E skills, whatever's in that back room breaks free. That can't be a good sign. She's still casing the joint when she's attacked by these chains. What is this, a Hellraiser movie? Fiore breaks free, but her guest is like, hey, why are you leaving so soon? You should totally stick around, as he drives a pair of scissors right into her hand. She rips them out and makes a break for it, heading into these weird caves. She's not spelunking alone, though, because her friend is right behind her. Well, that or the cameraman. He finally corners her, somehow, and then stabs her in the gut with the scissors. Then the film goes all weird grainy slow-mo so we can watch Fiore put her head through this conveniently placed sheet of glass. Then her head decides to go for a swim. Too bad it left her body behind. As far as opening kills go, Phenomena is pretty good. Not as good as Suspiria's opening double murder, but definitely memorable. From there, we jump to this unidentified house, where this lady is just monkeying around. Inside, we get some exposition. The cops are here to chat with Pleasance. He's an entomologist.
When a dead body is exposed to the elements, sooner or later it's eaten up by insects.
Look, I love Pleasance, but his Scottish accent is hilarious. Then the monkey wanders in.
Hey, where did you get this?
Oh, you know, I picked it up at the art supply store on the way home from my shift at the zoo. I'm working on some collage projects. Turns out Inga here already has a day gig. She's a helper monkey. Guess all those run-ins with Michael Myers really left Pleasance in bad shape. Anyway, grab your notebooks, kids, because class is in session. Dr. Pleasance will be your guest lecturer today.
First comes the common fly. Lays its eggs in the rotting corpse. And thus the cycle begins.
Hey, you guys want to see something really cool? You're gonna love this. I've been a little behind in my work lately, but I finally got ahead. Also, if you guess this is Fiore Argento's head, give yourself a screenwriter's credit. Fun fact, that second cop here is actually stage fright director Michele Soavi, who did second unit work on this film.
So we could say that she lost her head.
Well, yes, you could say that, but I'm gonna make all the stupid jokes in this video. After some more jibber-jabber, we learn that this town has a disappearing girl problem.
She's missing, all right, but we have no proof she's dead.
After finding this, what's the use of hiding from the facts?
Is there a rogue stage magician running around the Swiss Alps, or is something more sinister going on?
There's a killer. A vicious killer.
Well, I guess we know where Pleasance stands on the side of this. Or sits. Sorry, forgot. He can't walk in this movie. The next day, this teenage Jennifer Connelly finally decides to show up in this movie. She's on a little road trip with Daria Nicolodi, who's cosplaying as Nanny McPhee, apparently.
It's a very unusual area. People call it the Swiss Transylvania.
Why?
Because it's full of blonde vampires? Then we get a little more exposition.
No. Dad's working in the Philippines. He'll be there for almost a year.
Yeah, he's out there working with Joe D'Amato on some cannibal flick. Lord Gemser's probably in it. While they're driving along, this bee decides to land on her hand. Jennifer's clearly an insect rights activist because she's willing to crash this car to save that bee.
It won't hurt me. Insects never hurt me. I love them.
After that, they arrive at this swank boarding school.
And so Jennifer arrives in Switzerland from the New World.
Holy shit, who's narrating this movie? So, if you find yourself thinking, man, this feels a lot like Suspiria, you're not wrong. Phenomena hits a lot of the same notes as Argento's masterpiece. It's got a young American girl abroad at a boarding school run by an icily demure headmistress and a teacher who isn't exactly feminine looking. It's got a narrator who just appears out of nowhere. It's got schoolgirl drama. It's got a foreboding building as the school. And it's got a groovy Goblin score. At least when it's not cramming shitty hard rock down our ear holes. What doesn't it have? Witches. After an ominous warning from Frau Bruckner, Jennifer settles in to meet her new roommate.
By the way, I'm Sophie. I'm French.
Of course you are, Sophie. Of course you are. I'll be honest, given that Motorhead and Iron Maiden are on the soundtrack, I'm sort of surprised Argento didn't hire Motley Crue to do Smoking in the Girls' Room over this scene. We're saved for more chit-chat when Emma Frost busts in to enforce the school's strict no-posters policy.
Hey, wait, you don't know who that is? That's
Paul Corvino.
Sophie, that's enough.
Man, this girl's all excited about Paul Sorvino. Guess she really loved Law and Order in the early years.
That bitch stealing Paul Corvino.
Oh, she said Paul Corvino. My bad.
Your mother lives in India and owns a hotel. She remarried. Your father never did. You were only 7 when they split up.
Sophie here might be a stalker in the making. I'd sleep with one eye open, Jennifer. After some character development, Sophie drops this bombshell.
You know, there's a murderer around here. A crazy man. A maniac who kidnaps girls our age and kills them.
And she wasn't kidding around because we jump to this scene of the killer in action. This girl winds up in one of the abandoned buildings, which is probably one of the ones Frau Bruckner was talking about earlier. It's nice that it's so well lit and that there are candles handy. She doesn't realize it, but she's taking part in a real-life game of Clue. If you had the killer murdered her with the candlestick in the study, I'm sorry, you're wrong. While the killer's busy putting together his blade on a pole, we jump back to Jennifer's room where she's heading out for a little sleepwalking. Fun fact, I used to sleepwalk a lot too, but I mostly just peed in garbage cans. Oh, and if you're enjoying this and want to hear more embarrassing confessions about my childhood, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Anyway, enough about me. Jennifer walks into a murder set piece as she somehow winds up right outside the room where our victim is meeting her end. Fatality. Sleepwalking Jennifer basically lemmings her way to what looks like certain death, but she's saved by her coat. She plunges into the brush like she's John Rambo falling through the trees in First Blood, only with less Stallone mullet. God apparently looks after drunks and sleepwalkers, because she comes out of this unharmed and manages to wander through traffic until these Swiss misters clip her with their sweet Triumph convertible. They load her into the car, but Jennifer's seen enough torture porn flicks to know this is a bad situation waiting to happen, so she dives out and takes a roll down this hill. Ever the good citizens, the bros decide their civic duty is done and then leave. What a couple of Samaritans. It looks like Jennifer's going to spend the night in the great outdoors, but she's saved by Inga the Helper Monkey, who, it must be said, is really living up to her name. They wind up back at Donald Pleasance's place, where he examines her and concludes that she is definitely not an insect. Despite this, they quickly bond over their mutual love of bugs.
I study insects.
Really?
Do insects interest you?
Yeah, a lot.
Jennifer's upstairs grabbing a jacket, so Donald takes this opportunity to play with a beetle. Turns out this one's feeling frisky. Man, that's a lot of beetle juice. And don't say that 5 times. He passes the beetle to Jennifer, and it's love at first sight. Although, technically, these beetles are supposed to be blind.
You're exciting him, and he's doing his best to excite you.
Okay, this is getting creepy now. After that, Donald Pleasance gives us a monologue. And if we're being honest, that's pretty creepy too.
The hatching of the larvae. Some people get headaches. When it blows, there are those who say it causes madness.
This seems like a good time to say that, damn, I really miss Donald Pleasance. What a legend. The next day, Jennifer's off to the doctor, and it looks like he went to the same med school as Heather Langenkampstock in A Nightmare on Elm Street did, judging by this weird headgear. Don't worry though, Ilsa, she-wolf of the Swiss Alps, is here to oversee the procedure. With everything set, they're ready to start the test. Let me just crank up the bass. Judging by these readings, they're having a 7.2 magnitude earthquake. Quick, everyone find an interior wall.
I am not crazy, schizophrenic, epileptic, or stoned.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally normal to talk to bugs. I'm a healthy teenage girl. After that experience, she's making some calls. Probably to the Honey Nuts Cheerios bee. Yeah, look, I'm gonna need you to round up the swarm and head on over. I'm at Wagner's old place. Oh, and if you see the headmistress, sting her first. Turns out she's actually calling her dad's agent to get out of there. But he's out of town.
He's out of town?
That night, Sophie's on sleepwalking duty, but she's called away by the bat signal for a little romantic rendezvous. And really, why wouldn't you go out by yourself in the middle of the night? I mean, it's not like there's a murderer running around killing young girls. Seems like a solid plan. Sophie uses this opportunity to do a little name dropping to impress her boyfriend. Chick clearly has no shame.
What is she like?
Well, she thinks bugs talk to her, but other than that, she's pretty okay. Did I tell you her dad's Paul Corvino? Don't look now, but our lovebirds aren't alone. After they presumably do the deed, Soldier Boy here's gotta run. Yeah, sorry babe, got an early shift at the Swiss cheese factory. Someone's gotta make those holes.
I said fuck you!
She's clearly not a fan of good cheese. He does the gentlemanly thing and ditches her out here where she's easy prey for a killer. Who said chivalry was dead? While Sophie's being chased by our killer, Jennifer's about to have another one of her crazy sleepwalking episodes. This time, she tries Donald Pleasance's advice, and surprise, it actually works. Back outside, Sophie shows us why she won't be representing France in the track and field events at the Summer Olympics. Farewell, Sophie. I hope you wind up in a heaven full of Paul Corvinos. Jennifer hears the screams, and rather than do something smart, like, alert the authorities or something, she heads outside where the killer is and follows this lightning bug around for a while. You might think this little firefly is going to lead her back to his place, but guess again. He takes her on a scavenger hunt where she finds this mitten. She takes it back inside and then this happens. The next day, she's so traumatized she's dressing like she's a member of the Parisian resistance. So, what happened with that glove? Oh, it was just full of maggots. What happened to I love all the insects, Jennifer? Don't you love maggots too? Oh wait, she's not bothered by the maggots, she's bothered because she has a psychic link with the maggot, and he's showing her 6 different views of a very dead Sophie. Back at Donald's laboratory, he's doing some serious research. Yeah, those are definitely maggots. After getting the bugs all riled up again, it's time for another Donald Pleasance monologue.
What is this association between insects and the human soul?
Since the Donald is the closest thing Jennifer has to a bestie now that Sophie's worm food, she decides to share her secret with him.
And the firefly, it was like it heard me. And it answered my call.
He's like, girlfriend, you are so high right now.
Some species communicate with each other over vast distances by telepathy.
But that's ridiculous.
Well, no more ridiculous than your story of being the Aquaman of the insect world. Joking aside, this is one of the things I love about Phenomena. It's totally batshit crazy, but Argento and everyone involved play it completely straight and run with it. Turns out all this pontificating was just a ploy so Donald could show her his self-published book. They spared no expense on that cover art. Back at the school, she's like, man, I was really hoping there'd be more pictures in this thing. Jennifer heads back to her room and finds Ilsa and her harem snooping around in her stuff. Then she's accosted by the Swiss cast of Mean Girls, but she'll show them. She summons a horde of flies to swarm the building. Fun fact, this effect was actually achieved by pouring coffee grounds in water in front of a picture of the school. Nowadays, some dork with After Effects would just do this on his laptop while eating lunch. And with that, she's down for the count. Summoning swarms of flies is exhausting. After Metal Gear Soliding her way out of the school, she's back at Donald Pleasance's place. He's gonna show her this sweet new maggot he's got. At least this one's got a cool name.
Larvae of the great sarcophagus.
Here we get to see Pleasance channel his inner Dr. Loomis. Dude could totally be talking about Michael Myers.
He is a psychopath. If we mean to get him, we have to call on the services of the 2 greatest detectives ever known.
Donald's hatching a crazy plan, one that would have made Loomis proud, in that he's going to send Jennifer and the Fly out to find the body. I mean, what could go wrong? other than maybe the fly getting stuck on fly paper. Next thing you know, Jennifer and her fly friend are on the bus. Hope she paid his fare. Ah yeah, just a girl and her fly out for a ride through the countryside. Hey, do you smell rotten food? Maybe we can stop by a cow patty on the way back. After some more driving, the fly finally signals they're at the right place. Good thing there weren't any other dead bodies along the route. That would have been awkward. Don't look now, but the fly's totally leading her back to the cottage. But Jennifer's being followed. And man, I love how Argento takes totally normal things like these BMW tailpipes and makes them all ominous. Apparently, Switzerland has an open door policy, because Jennifer just wanders right into this empty house. We know it's the right place because there are those chains and shackles on the floor. After some exploring, she's accosted by this creepy poor man's version of John Saxon.
What are you doing here?
Mattress inspector. I don't want to pull rank, but did you know these mattresses have no tags on them? That's against the law. As he watches her sprint across the field, we're treated to this fly cam shot as the great sarcophagus finds his rotting treasure. After that, this cop shows up. And why not? I mean, we're over an hour into the movie, but sure, let's add another character and subplot. Back at Donald Pleasance's place, Inga's enjoying some kite flying. Or was, because now it's stuck in this tree. While she's busy ripping it down, someone sneaks in the front door and locks her out of the house. All of Inga's freaking out wakes up Donald Pleasance, who's on his way downstairs to let her in when, surprise, he's got house guests. With Inga watching, Donald takes one last ride down the stairs and is impaled on the killer's weird blade-on-a-stick contraption. Then, in one of the film's more weirdly touching moments, the chimp sits with Donald Pleasance's corpse. Man, my boss is going to be so angry when he finds out I let another one of my patients die. It's going to be right back to the circus. Outside, the killer's making his getaway, but look out! Cheetah's on the trail. Man, that's one angry chimp. Inga gets ditched, kind of like Jennifer did by those goofy tourist bros earlier, but I don't think this is the last we've seen of her. Clearly, it doesn't pay to be friends with Jennifer in this movie. Both Sophie and Donald Pleasance are now dead. Maybe she could just solve her problems by getting tight with the headmistress and Frau Bruckner. Just in case you forgot about that cop from a few scenes ago, he's here inspecting. Well, I was really looking for something a little bigger for a rental, but the padded walls are a nice touch. I'll take it. The next day, Jennifer's burning up the phone lines. She's probably calling up Jim Henson to see if he can get her out of this movie and into Labyrinth. With that out of the way, this seems like a good time to check back in with Inga. She's fallen on hard times and is homeless now, so she's eating out of garbage cans. I guess Donald Pleasance didn't leave her his house in the will. While digging for more grub, she instead finds Peter Neal's straight razor from Tenebre. Alright, time to settle some scores. Back at that bank, Jennifer's waiting for a wire transfer, but instead receives a visit from Frau Bruckner. Oh man, I was expecting cash, not a visit from a dowdy Italian version of Emma Thompson. Bruckner's gonna get her a plane ticket back to America though, so I guess everything's still coming up Millhouse.
You can stay with me tonight.
Or not. Inside, we get some more exposition.
I told you I don't live alone. I have a small son. He's very sick. I cover the mirrors for his sake. He doesn't want to see his reflection.
So this seems like a good time to point out that while Phenomena has been pretty crazy so far, you really haven't seen anything yet. So just sit back and enjoy the ride. Jennifer sneaks off and finds what she thinks is Bruckner's sick son. Then, after demonstrating why she never got gigs as a babysitter, we learn that the kid is actually a doll.
It's only a doll.
Weird. After a tiff over some pills and using the bathroom, Jennifer says what we're all thinking.
What a bitch.
And yet, after all her complaining, she actually takes the roofie Bruckner gave her. But that's the least of her worries because this bathroom is crawling with maggots. I hope you don't think I'm going to leave you a good review on Airbnb. While she's checking out all the maggots, Donald Pleasance chimes in with some exposition. From beyond the grave.
Larvae of the great sarcophagus. It lives exclusively off dead bodies.
And then the roofie kicks in. Man, that stuff works fast. There's only one thing to do now. Purge that thing like you're in Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. Amazingly enough, Jennifer does actually open the door, after this woman just tried to poison her. Clearly, she didn't get into the Wagner Academy on an academic scholarship. While Bruckner's on puke patrol, Jennifer makes a break for the phone, but she gets dropped like a bomb. I'm sorry, young lady, you didn't take your roofie, so you lose phone privileges for a week. Bruckner's ready to get down to business, but remember that cop from earlier? Yeah, he's still in this movie. And he stopped by for a visit. What timing. The cop's just here to deliver a heaping helping of exposition. That was nice of him. The gist of this is that Bruckner worked as a nurse at a nearby insane asylum and was raped, which basically means she could be Freddy Krueger's mom. Back inside, Jennifer's awakened by a scream, and some more Donald Pleasance voiceover.
Perhaps the murderer hides his victims. He likes to keep in physical contact with them.
He's really helpful for a dead guy. She tries to escape, but surprise, she's locked in the panic room. Undaunted, she finds the phone on the other side of the door. Anyway, she's fishing for the phone, but loses it again when a man screams from another room. She's almost got it and then loses it down the bottomless pit. Nice work, Jennifer. Meanwhile, in a totally different movie, this dude's walking through the airport. Oh, this is Jennifer's dad's agent. Nice of him to show up for the last 15 minutes. Does this movie have any other surprise special guests? Probably should just bring them in now. Back in our main movie, Jennifer's following the phone cord down into the bowels of hell, apparently. I mean, really, what the hell is this place? She eventually finds it, and surprise, it still works. Look, say what you want about old phones, but there's no way your iPhone 11 would work after falling into a bottomless pit. And even if it did, you'd never get a signal down there. Score one for old tech, baby. Anyway, she's about to order a pizza, but instead dials up a jump scare. This bloody mutant is the cop from earlier. Bruckner's carved him up like a rotten jack-o'-lantern. Jennifer wants no part of that and decides this is a good time for a swim, so she nesty plunges right into this pool of body parts. Someone should lend her a hand. I'm sure there are plenty floating around. Then Bruckner comes in to laugh maniacally. Our inspector isn't having none of that, though, so he's over here mangling his thumb. You know what that means. His dreams of a career as a professional gamer are pretty much over. Uh-oh, don't look now, but he's free. And he's still got one good thumb. While he's busy delivering a Bruckner beatdown, Jennifer finally escapes from the pool of corpses. Meanwhile, the lawyer's on the way, and he's packing. Jennifer flees the building, but she makes a classic final girl mistake when she stops to check in on this kid. He's standing in a corner like this is the end of the Blair Witch Project. She's ready to take the kid with her, but surprise, this kid's a mutant and our killer. Man, talk about a face only a mother could love. Jennifer flees and decides this is as good a time as any for a boat trip. But as she's fleeing, Tyrion Lannister here shows up with his pike and hops on board. While he's menacing her with a knife on a stick, the swarm of flies shows up again. Good timing. Dude's like human flypaper at this point. No, they're eating my handsome face. Tyrion goes overboard and that has to be the end of him, right? The flies make their exit, then Jennifer sets the boat on fire when she tries to start the motor again. Nice work, Jennifer. She has to abandon ship, and is it just me or is this a lot like the end of Jason Lives at this point? That movie came out a year after Phenomena, so draw your own conclusions. Anyway, she's swimming around underwater in a sequence that is almost assuredly a nod to Argento's Suspiria follow-up Inferno. Too bad Mario Bava wasn't around to film this. This is the clearest lake water I've ever seen, which makes it all the more surprising that she doesn't see this jump scare coming from her rear starboard side. Jennifer breaks free and her nasty nemesis is engulfed by the flames. That has to be the end of the movie, right? Eventually, she makes it back to shore where her dad's agent shows up, ready to take her back to safety. But surprise, he just lost his head. Turns out Frau Bruckner is out here performing sheet metal decapitations. I'm guessing she doesn't have a license for this, business or medical. The grieving mother has Jennifer in a really bad spot. Could this be the end of our final girl? Things are definitely looking bleak, but holy shit, it's Inga and her straight razor. Look, I told you this movie was gonna get batshit insane. The grieving chimp sets to work on Frau Bruckner's face with that straight razor, thereby giving us the greatest revenge murder in the history of cinema. With her bloodlust sated, Inga tosses aside her blade and she and Jennifer head off into an uncertain future. I like to imagine that they started an animal and insect rescue where they also solve crimes. I'll be honest, that one was fairly tame for a Dario Argento flick, but let's see how it measures up on the gore card. In terms of gross anatomy, Phenomena offers up a few ghoulish treats. We've got a scissoring. No, not that kind, you pervs. 2 decapitations, a blade through the head and out the mouth, maggot-covered body parts, 1 stabbing, a mangled thumb, and a razor murder by chimpanzee. Overall, the effects work here is solid. There's nothing in Phenomena that will shock hardcore gore geeks, but the splatter is still pretty good. And because of that, I'm giving Phenomena 3 barf bags out of 5. This is not Argento's goriest film, but it's still well worth seeing if you're into Italian horror. Want to see another Dario Argento classic? Then be sure to check out my review of Tenebre. You'll find a link to it here on the screen. I'll meet you over there. Until next time, I'm Mike Bracken, aka The Horror Geek, bringing you all the splatter that matters.